Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian Farmer at TTG Trade Group, and welcome to your end of day market video. It is Monday, April 10th, so start of the week. Some people still on vacation. Happy Easter. Passover still today, I believe, and then I think everybody is back tomorrow. Europe was also closed today, and some Asian markets were closed overnight too. So a little bit of a slower day, but a pretty constructive day. And to start the week, I think that's not bad. Themes of the day, before I get to that risk disclaimer in front of you, everything that we're going through is for information purposes only, not giving out any advice or recommendations. Please read the full risk disclaimer there. But overall, one of the things that I noticed right off the bat, one of the themes of the day was that the market opened up, the market was selling off going into the open today, from about 8 o'clock till 9:30, we saw futures trend lower. And I think the Qs opened up somewhere down around a little over 1% somewhere. And I think they actually went a little bit. I think at one point they went lower than 1%, somewhere around 1.3. I don't have the exact number. But one of the things that we picked up on was that breadth was never really ticked negative for the while that was going on in the first hour of the day. So I always find that constructive. I try to point that out to traders in the Tribeca trade room when we see something like that, when it's kind of a divergence, right? We talk a lot about divergences sometimes when we see them like in a big technical picture, but sometimes there's little intraday divergences like that too. And that's using our market breadth indicator, which is different than just looking at advancing versus declining issues. It associates volume, so it's more, to me, it's more of a robust indicator to factor in, because you can certainly open up for the day, like we did, lower, and you'll see that there's a lot more declining versus advancing issues. But when you associate volume with it, it gives you another a layer of depth in terms of what you're now analyzing, and today really helped to see that the breadth was not horrible, and we had another, you could see again left of my screen, this is how it finished for the day, which indicates when it's green like this, it means that kind of volume is there behind the advancing versus declining. Again, it looks at up volume versus down volume. So that's good. And it's a reminder too that we have been in McClellan summation index buy signal as well now for a couple weeks at this point, right? And that is, if you use stock charts, you could use the dollar sign and then NYSI, and you can see what I mean, right? It gives you a nice trend look to see. I'm not going to display that now because I go over that stuff in the member weekend video, but we want to be sticking with that, right? And that'll be kind of hard to do this week, as well as towards the end of this week when earnings season starts, right? Those are we've got two big things going on this week. It is another gauge of inflation. We get the CPI report on Wednesday, and they're only looking for, I can bring this up for you just so that you can take a look in here. But again, nothing major tomorrow except for the NFIB small business optimism. That's always interesting. I always tweet this out because it is interesting what small businesses are doing. And this small business optimism index, they do give you some, they do like a survey with small businesses. But anyway, that's the only economics for tomorrow. Wednesday is where it really picks up. And you could see the month over month, which is what I really pay attention to, because it tells you what the change is, and that of course can lead to a trend. But they're only looking for 0.2%, right? I think last month was 0.4. You could see in the prior column. So they're looking for a lower number. Doesn't mean that's what they're going to get. But the bar is a bit lower. Ex food and energy the estimates are 0.4, and so that's Wednesday. Then Thursday we'll get the PPI, which they're expecting a flat number. Remember that number was weaker last month. That was a negative 0.1. So that was the difference between the CPI, big difference between the CPI report and the PPI report last month. So we're going to get those Wednesday and Thursday. All right. And then, of course, for events, I'm not going to bring up the whole earnings calendar, but we will get we're going to get the banks that are going to start to report towards the end of this week. Also, things like United Healthcare as well. Those names always lead off. So that's really a couple things where, you know, you might see that volatility, which right now, if you look at the VIX, it's a 19, but you might not see volatility really come majorly into the picture unless there's a big deviation away from the 0.2 expectations. And then looking ahead to earnings, you know, unless we get a lot of out of consensus earnings reports, that could shake us up as well. And again, that will, you know, once we get past this week in the CPI report, I think, you know, earnings will be center stage, especially when you get, you know, some of the bigger tech names reporting and, you know, the bigger industrial companies and so on and so forth. So that was the one theme of the day, was that the breadth was actually hung in there on the lows of the day. And also the small caps and micro caps finally woke up today. You could see, and I should probably put this in green, but this was a standout. You know, we haven't been seeing this. The small cap index was up 1.1%. The micro caps were also up 1%, and they rallied off the lows of the session, 1.5%. Not the lows of the session, but the open, I should say. But that's been one of the things that I've been showing that chart frequently in these end of day videos, saying that, you know, that has not been a chart that looks great, right? And that's kind of the, we can go back to the S&P in just a second, but, you know, nice to see this, and I would like to see this kind of hang in here and not break this range. Here's what this looks like on the weekly chart, which if you're a regular viewer of my videos, you know that I've been showing how bad IWM looks, and even worse when you look at the micro caps, which is IWC. So again, you know, a nice day. So, you know, it could be a start, but one day is not a trend. We know that. And I'd like to see some follow through from the micro caps. And it also helps, I think, you know, there's some better trading opportunities too when some of the smaller cap names, you know, tend to actually, you know, have some upside momentum to them. There's just a lot more trading opportunities than just looking at some of the bigger mega or just large cap names. All right, so I mentioned I'll get back to the S&P here. There's not much really to highlight here other than, you know, we went lower today and we're staying above this 5-period moving average. I use the 5-period moving average a lot more when we're like trending in one direction, right? When we've got something like, I'll give you an example of when we're moving above, right? When we're moving above, this 5-period moving average works great, because sometimes you begin to kind of doubt things, right? When we're trending in the upward fashion. But the 5-period moving average, it can really kind of tell you to kind of sit tight because price hasn't done anything. And then same time on the downside too, when you're looking to buy the dip, right? And that we can probably look more recently, but when you're looking to buy the dip and price can't make it above the 5-period moving average, it tells me to be patient. So that's when we're going up, down, and we know that this year, you know, this is sideways. Now there have been periods where, like right now, right, we've been above this 5-period moving average for, you know, since the beginning of March, right? I know that's hard to see, but because there's been some days where we've really gone back and forth, but for the most part, again, maybe it's not, you know, 95% fit, but we have been hanging above this 5-period moving average. So even though we're not like a rocket ship going up to the upside, the last couple of weeks have been pretty good, you know, even when we took a step back, you know, last week, and you could see we did get a little bit above that, you know, extended above the 5-period moving average last week. So this was a logical place for buyers to come back, and it, you know, it feels like on the down days, we're not seeing like a complete washout to the downside. We're actually seeing buyers come back. This also, what I would note here in the Qs, which of course have been the strongest index out of the ones I just mentioned. This actually found support on Friday and bounced, right? And again, had another low session, even though it closed lower for the day. It's still kind of hanging right around that 5-day moving average, you know, just barely above. So really what, you know, the support level that I watch is 312.16. Someone asked me, and I forgot to respond to them, is there another version point of control above here, right? Because we took out this one on the 30 on March 31st, right? And since then, it's been a bit sideways. And some digestion. Yes, there is another one that's all the way up here at 340, but I would watch before 340. I think the next thing that comes into picture is 332, which is the top of value. Since we're on the cues, I'll mention just one stock, which I thought is very interesting, which is Apple. I don't trade Apple a lot, but I would, if you do, I would pay attention to this 164.50 level, right? So this is the top of value for the year. Okay. Again, this value area is based on all the price and volume activity from 2022. So 164.50 is the top of value on the weekly chart. Also note for Apple. Now, again, it came in here and, holding the support here of 159, but it's also going to have to get through this 166 level where it's stalled out. So you've got a lot of resistance and overhead supply right around this level. Who knows? It may take earnings. Depends if Apple wants to run into its report or not. But that's where I see major resistance. Again, just something that I noted and I thought I would bring to your attention. Let's get back to what were the drivers of the day. We talked about the micro caps. The dollar also, I think the dollar did finish up. I see dollar futures were up 70 basis points, 7.70, which is a decent move for the dollar today. At one point, it was up close to 1%, so it gave back a little bit those gains, which kind of helped equities a bit, but maybe something to kind of keep an eye on. We haven't really seen much dollar strength over the last few weeks. First signs of it today. So the solar names, they were sneaky. Blockchain stocks, Bitcoin moved up today. I think that was also just as the breadth being strong. Bitcoin was basically up all day and closed close to the highs. I would, if you pay attention to Bitcoin a lot, this is Bitcoin futures. I would pay attention to the 29,285 level in Bitcoin futures. Notice that price closed right at that top of value, just a little bit outside of it, but still, that's the main level to watch because that's the top of the value area for April. All right. Notice, this is where this virgin point of control was taken out, and it was basically about a good few weeks of consolidation. Again, often the case once you take out one of these virgin point of controls, which is overhead supply. Other than that, what impressed me today was the semiconductors. They were a little bit weak last week, right? They really corrected some last week. They've been a strong group, but there were some names that looked like they might be breaking down. Just to pull one name, which I didn't trade, but I was watching, Analog Devices is one of those names, right? That look like, let's see if I can get Thinkorswim to work for me here. Right. So for example, it started to kind of break below its 20-day moving average, but look at the day that it had today. So it did get down to the 50-day moving average and it bounced, right? Last time it did that, it did the same thing. It didn't stay below the 20-day moving average for long and it bounced off the 50, right? Look at this bullish engulfing candle for the day on Analog Devices, ADI. Pretty nice, all right? And it just shows that the trend is intact. I traded, AM, I did not trade this one, AMD, but this one also made a nice comeback. Right, has spent a long time digesting this this virgin point of control takeout, right? Overhead supply. I traded NVIDIA today. I actually added a position in NVIDIA on Friday, and I kind of chickened out with it. I said, you know what? I don't want to hold too much exposure. Because it's been hard. Last week was tough to hold exposure. A couple times I walked in last week and I had a couple swing trades that were down decently. So, I just didn't really want to start off the week that way, but we caught it today. Nice move, up 2%. I took a couple targets in this one. Again, you've heard me talk about NVIDIA quite a bit, but that doesn't mean I'm holding it at all times, right? I sent out a tweet about this, about not last weekend, the weekend before, saying, yes, I do believe that you can have a few names be responsible for a good chunk of your P&L, right? I hear a lot of famous traders talk about that, right? You just need to find, let's say, 4 or 5 names that could really do very well for you throughout the year. My adjustment or adaptation to that rule is that you don't have to be in those names at all times, right? You can, when you think that they might be breaking down or look a little weak, you can kind of avoid them, right? And I sold out of this name last week. Like I said, I was going to add it on Friday. I decided not to, and I'm back in it today and took a couple targets with the name up 2% for the day. So again, my ultimate target for this name is 300. All right. Another name too, which came from our weekend watch list, and we do provide this as I think I have. Oh, geez, I don't know what happened here, but the current prices went out. Let me see if I can fix this really quick. All right, there we go. I managed to fix it very quickly. I did take a screenshot in case this is linked to Google's API data. So I use Google. I also use Bloomberg API to do this type of stuff. But yeah, so this was the watch list that I put out for members. Members do get a video that goes through each one of these charts, which I did this weekend. Go over why I like the name. So there's NVIDIA on the list. Rambus also triggered, but is not active right now. Where is Rambus on here? I like this setup, right? I actually tweeted this out earlier. You know, look at the volume on the breakout, right? And when this thing pulled back, it was on lighter volume, not, really low volume, but the volume was lighter than on the breakout. So notice what it did here. Came back, and what I'm looking for, because I did get into a position today in Rambus, is for this to kind of come back out to new highs. And again, I like the pickup in the volume on the green candle. All right, so very nice looking play here. A couple other names too. Perry's another one too. So this is the nice thing when you do get a pullback in some of these names. Like Perry's a super strong small cap software name, right? Look at now this one, the volume isn't exactly the same. This could indicate that there is some real selling taking place. So I would watch what it does here on the 20-day moving average. It might need a little bit more time, but you got a nice dip here, a little bit of a retracement back to the 20-day moving average, almost back to the 37.66 top of value. I like that setup as well, provided that it does hold and start to turn back higher. Another name that I took today was Tractor Supply, right? Same thing, right? If you notice the pattern of how I look at some of my charts and names is that I'm looking at uptrends and I'm looking for dips in uptrends. Here was your dip last week into 232. Unfortunately, I didn't catch it on Friday. So I did when I, in my review and my homework that I do for members, and I put this trade on today. And I like the trend that's taking place here. Other names too, PCG is a utility name that I went over, I think, in Friday's video. LMT, right, is now breaking out. Again, when you look at the chart this way, sometimes it looks like, it's been going sideways for a while. If you open up the weekly chart for some of these names, you could see that you got a nice little pattern here, kind of an inverted head and shoulders and breaking out to new highs. Right? I like that. I know it's a tougher name to trade. It trades at $496, but overall it's not bad. Another name too, not on my watch list, but just we saw a little bit of call buying in this name today, was Roblox. This is obviously a higher momentum growth name, but I'll tell you, it doesn't look bad. I think you could trade this versus 44.36 top of value. Another name too that caught my eye going through charts is actually Zillow, believe it or not. It kind of looks a little bit like that Roblox chart, right? Moving back above all these short-term moving averages, and 43.66 is a level that you could trade against. All right, guys, so I'm going to end it here. Here's some of my trades. I took a couple other targets today. Zoetis was a name that I got long last week, right? You've had to have a little bit of patience in this name. And patience for Thinkorswim as well. Nice move here. Again, I don't mind being in a couple slower healthcare type names. Nice move above these moving averages. Another name too that I got long last week, which I took a target in, was Ulta Beauty. I like the dip in this thing. right? Now moving back above the value area 527. I did take off a trade today too. If I'm adding exposure, I want to be taking profits and perhaps some other things. This is just, I've been in this name for a while. I decided to take this one off, but it may have more to go. This is AXON. I've been taking profits in this name, then adding back on dips, taking profits, right? And I'll watch this name tomorrow and see how it does. But nice movement today on this name. All right, guys, that's it for today's video. Much more to come tomorrow morning in the pre-market session. If you are not a member of Tribeca Trade Group, sign up. And we go over chart setups during the day. I also put together a midday video. Today's midday video was just 9 minutes long, and I put together charts and I go over some open positions as well. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow.